Welcome to my anime recap channel. In this video, I will be recapping the anime series, The Apothecary Diaries. Maomao, a resident of the red light district, is asked by her father to deliver medicine to the verdigrease's house, warning her to be wary of the recent kidnappings. Maomao complies and departs for the verdigrease's house. Upon arrival, she finds the brothel's madam dealing with customers excited to see Perrin, one of the three princesses of the house. Maomao enters the medicine room, where she begins writing while observing a wound on her left arm. Perrin enters and scolds Maomao for her wounds, which Maomao explains are the result of her usual drug experiments. As they talk, the madam enters and warns Maomao not to set off another explosion with her so-called experiments, lest she be forced to become a courtesan. Annoyed, Maomao quickly informs the madam that she has left the medicine and leaves, just before two other women enter the room, thinking they heard her voice. As Maomao walks to the herb plot, she curses the madam for always trying to make her into a courtesan. Once she reaches the herb plot, she is kidnapped by human traffickers. Maomao worries about her father's anxiety as her captors take her to their destination, the Imperial Palace. As winter falls, Lady Lihua gives birth to a prince with the support of the rear palace physician. Meanwhile, Lady Gyokyu rejoices at the news of the prince's safe delivery while holding her own daughter, Princess Lingli. 3 months later, Maomao frets about her father and mourns her former life as an ordinary apothecary. She reflects on how the rear palace is no different from a brothel, a garden of beautiful women meant to bear the emperor's children. No men are allowed in this garden except the emperor, his kin, and the eunuchs, individuals who were formerly male, after losing their manhood. The rear palace is a collection of 2,000 concubines and servants, and 1,000 eunuchs. Unlike the high dash, mid dash, and low-ranking concubines, serving girls like Maomao are expendable and can lose their lives at any moment. While Maomao is working, Xiaolan rushes in and asks her to read the tag on a piece of clothing. Maomao reads the tag and tells her the location of the item. She comments that most of the servants are illiterate and are only taught the bare essentials of etiquette. Although Maomao knows that she would earn more if she worked as a literate servant, her kidnappers would take the raise. While it is possible for servants to become low-ranking concubines, Maomao does not have the looks for it, so she decides to lay low and avoid trouble during her 2-year term. She also laments not being able to drink. While they are doing laundry, Xiaolan tells Maomao about a super handsome eunuch who works in the central area of the rear palace. Everyone is talking about him, and Xiaolan complains that she wants to see him. She asks Maomao if she wants to see him too, but Maomao is not interested. Meanwhile, Jinshi, Gaoshun, and the physician visit Lady Lihua because she and her 3-month-old son are not well. However, the physician cannot figure out what is wrong with either of them, much to Lady Lihua's frustration. As Jinshi and Gaoshun are leaving the Crystal Pavilion, they meet Hongyang, who takes them to the Jade Pavilion because the 6-month-old Princess Lingli is also sick and needs to be seen by the physician. However, the physician is busy attending to the prince and is not available to examine the princess. While the servants are eating lunch, they express their concern about the prince and princess being sick. Xiaolan overhears them and suddenly concludes that it must be a curse, confusing Maomao. Xiaolan explains the rumor circulating about the deaths of heirs born in the rear palace. So far, all 3 of the emperor's heirs have died from sudden illnesses. Maomao is surprised to hear this, while Xiaolan expects the same to happen to the current 2 heirs as well. Maomao asks if the heirs are actually sick, and Xiaolan confirms that the physician has visited both Lady Gyokyu and Lady Lihua. The 2 servants discuss the possibility of the emperor taking an empress. The first candidate is Lady Lihua, who recently gave birth to a son, but the emperor also favors Lady Gyokyu. The power struggle between the 2 women may be related to the curse plaguing Lady Lihua's son. Xiaolan goes on to say that Lady Lihua may be worse off because the physician is with her more often. Hearing that Lady Lihua is also sick surprises Maomao. Xiaolan says that both Lady Lihua and the prince are apparently suffering from headaches, stomachaches, and nausea, which Maomao finds odd. Xiaolan again expresses her belief that it is a curse, while Mao dismisses her as being stupid, much to Xiaolan's annoyance. Meanwhile, a weak Lady Lihua worries and frets about her son's health. Maomao is still pondering her conversation with Xiaolan, contemplating the possible causes of the headaches, stomachaches, and nausea that the prince and princess are experiencing. She considers the possibility of poisoning, but dismisses it because the princess is also sick, which would be unusual for deliberate poisoning, which is typically related to the issue of the crown imperial heir. Even after further contemplation, she cannot reach a conclusion based on rumors alone. Therefore, she decides to investigate for herself by visiting the area where the high-ranking concubines reside. She witnesses an argument between Lady Lihua and Lady Gyokyu near the Crystal Pavilion. Lady Lihua slaps Lady Gyokyu and accuses her of cursing her son because Lady Gyokyu gave birth to a daughter. Lady Gyokyu denies the accusation, stating that Lady Lihua clearly knows it is not true because her own daughter, Princess Lingli, is also sick and suffering. She explains that she arrived at Lady Lihua's residence to request the physician's assistance for her daughter. The physician is flustered by the situation, which annoys Maomao. She can clearly understand what is happening with the two concubines based on their condition, and can guess why the heirs are sick. She wonders if the physician is unaware of the cause. Maomao knows that it is not a curse and tries to think of a way to discreetly inform the two concubines about the situation. She begins to search for writing materials. As Maomao contemplates leaving the palace, Jinshi, who has heard about the commotion, arrives with Gaoshun to disperse the situation. He overhears Maomao muttering something about the prince, but dismisses it as having misheard. Later, while walking around the Crystal Pavilion, she notices a flower with a piece of cloth tied to it on the windowsill. She ignores it and throws it away. Not even a month later, the prince passes away. Maomao is saddened by the news, knowing that she failed to save his life. Meanwhile, Jinshi and Gaoshun visit the Jade Pavilion, where Lady Gyokyu presents Jinshi with a piece of cloth that was tied to a rhododendron flower and left on the windowsill. She had received the flower on the same day she had the argument with Lady Lihua at the Crystal Pavilion. The message on the piece of cloth read, "The white face powder is poison. Don't let the baby touch it." Upon reading the message, Lady Gyokyu realizes that ignorance is truly a sin. She and Jinshi contemplate who sent the message. It could not have been the palace physician, since the message was presented in a roundabout way, and the palace physician never discovered the source of the prince's illness. Lady Gyokyu asks for Jinshi's help to locate the person who sent the message. Jinshi remembers hearing a female servant muttering something about poison on the day of the argument. He agrees to Lady Gyokyu's request and asks permission to borrow the piece of cloth. On a later day, Xiaolan informs Maomao that the emperor has been visiting Lady Gyokyu frequently to show his love for the surviving princess. Maomao asks Xiaolan if she has heard anything about Lady Lihua, but Xiaolan does not have any news. Suddenly, a eunuch arrives and asks Maomao to report to the matron of the serving women immediately. Maomao is unhappy about the situation, as it is not common for a high-ranking official to summon the serving girls. She wonders if it is just for some other work. As the girls enter the room under the watchful eyes of Gaoshun, he notices Maomao's repaired skirt. Jinshi arrives in the room and thanks the girls for coming. He receives a signal from Gaoshun and begins writing something on a piece of paper. The serving girls are smitten by Jinshi's looks, but Maomao is bothered by the arrival of an arrogant-looking woman. Jinshi introduces himself as the manager of the rear palace. Hearing his voice, Maomao realizes that the woman is a man and identifies him as the good-looking eunuch that Xiaolan mentioned before. As Jinshi continues to write, Maomao comments on the wastefulness of such a handsome man becoming a sterile eunuch. Jinshi finishes writing his message, which reads, "You with the freckles stay here." He shows it to the gathered serving girls. Maomao is surprised to read the message, and the nearby serving girls are confused. Jinshi dismisses the serving girls and tells them to return to their room. The serving girls are surprised, but they slowly start to leave as ordered. Maomao is stuck contemplating the situation, wondering how she ended up getting Jinshi's attention. She thinks it might be related to the message she sent earlier. She realizes too late that it was all a trap. Since most of the serving girls are illiterate, no one other than Maomao can read the message. This reveals her as the writer of the message. As she tries to escape, Jinshi casually catches her and reminds her that he told her to stay behind. He tells her to follow him quietly. Maomao is annoyed that the handsome eunuch touched her, and she even dusts off the spot he touched. As they walk, Jinshi mentions that Maomao's background record says she is illiterate. Maomao casually tries to feign innocence, saying that she is of low birth, and there must have been some mistake. Maomao resolves to not admit anything and pretend to be ignorant until the end to make things easier for herself. She is frustrated and wonders how Jinshi found out about the message, as she was very secretive about it. She immediately labels Jinshi as a mistrustful person and wonders why he isn't doing something else rather than targeting her. Jinshi and Maomao arrive at the Jade Pavilion, and Hongyan welcomes them inside. Maomao wonders whether she will be punished, and hopes she makes it out alive. They arrive at the room of Lady Gyokyu, who is holding the healthy and laughing Princess Lingli. Seeing Princess Lingli healthy, Maomao is glad that she was saved. Lady Gyokyu thanks Maomao for saving the life of her daughter, which makes Maomao flustered. She says that she isn't worthy of such kindness. Lady Gyokyu expresses that any amount of gratefulness isn't enough for saving the life of her daughter, but Maomao, fearing getting too involved, decides to feign ignorance. She says that they must have mistaken her for someone else, which confuses Lady Gyokyu. Jinshi steps in and says that Maomao provided him with the message written on the cloth. As Maomao tries harder to feign ignorance, Jinshi also points out that the cloth used to write the message is something issued only for the serving girls, especially those who handle laundry like her. He asks her whether she ripped her skirt or not. With no way out, Maomao finally gives up. When Jinshi asks Maomao why she wrote a message and left it with a flower, she replies that she had figured out the reason behind the situation on that day. The makeup powder was the main cause. Many courtesans in the brothel where Maomao grew up had used similar high-end powder and eventually been poisoned and killed by it. They had traded their lives for beauty, but in the end, they lost both. Maomao reveals that before she started working in the rear palace, she was something of an apothecary and was very familiar with poisons. Jinshi asks Lady Gyokyu about the powder, and she informs him that the baby's nurse had used it. The nurse had said that the whitening effect of that powder was better than the other ones. The nurse had suddenly taken ill, so Lady Gyokyu had given her a leave of absence and paid her wages. Lady Gyokyu again contemplates that being ignorant is a sin, as she didn't pay attention to what her daughter was putting in her mouth. Jinshi also feels guilty, knowing that if he had known the information earlier, he could have saved the lives of many others, including the prince. Lady Gyokyu states that after seeing the message, she quickly tried to inform Lady Lihua about it, but because of the incident before, Lady Lihua had grown more distrustful of her and didn't listen to her warnings. In the end, Maomao asks what she can do for them. Lady Gyokyu happily responds that she wants Maomao to immediately start working for her as the new lady-in-waiting. Her plans of keeping a low profile completely ruined, Maomao leaves the Jade Pavilion in hysterics. Maomao's first day working under Lady Gyokyu at the Jade Palace was an exciting one. She was initially unsure of what her duties would be, but she was soon assigned the role of food tester for Lady Gyokyu. This was a high-risk job, as Maomao would be tasked with sampling food that could potentially be poisoned. However, Maomao, who was a herbalist with a keen interest in poisons, found the job to be quite thrilling. To assess Maomao's abilities, Jinshi, the chief of staff, presented her with a gift from a military official, dumplings laced with aphrodisiacs. Maomao, with her sharp eye and knowledge of herbs, quickly recognized the dumplings' hidden ingredients. She sternly advised Jinshi to be cautious, suggesting that the military official who gifted him the dumplings might have ulterior motives for doing so. Jinshi, pleased with Maomao's quick thinking and expertise, decided to test her one final time by asking her to prepare an aphrodisiac. Maomao initially hesitated, as she didn't want to get involved in such matters. However, realizing that saying yes would give her an opportunity to experiment with herbs, she reluctantly agreed. After instructing Maomao on the task, Jinshi retired for the night. On his way to his quarters, he was accosted by several consorts, much to his dismay. Before retiring, he carefully locked his door, fearing that the military official might visit him under the influence of the aphrodisiac-laced dumplings. The next morning, Maomao followed Jinshi's instructions and headed to the infirmary. There, she met with Gao Shun, who led her into the medicine chambers. The quack doctor was already there, looking displeased at Maomao's presence in his domain. Upon entering the medicine room, Maomao fell into a trance and began to dance, demonstrating her deep connection with herbs. However, to her dismay, Jinshi appeared unexpectedly and mocked her for her childlike behavior. With everyone gathered, Maomao prepared the aphrodisiac ingredients: milk, butter, sugar, honey, and spirits. She combined them in a specific way to create a chocolate-coated aphrodisiac. She then coated the cut-up fruit with the aphrodisiac and carefully refrigerated it in a jar. As for the remaining chocolate, she mixed it with bread and saved it for later. After completing her task, Maomao left the room to attend to her daily chores. Upon her return, she found the Jade Palace in an uproar. Gao Shun appeared wary, and Jinshi sighed in dismay. Lady Goku's 3 lower servants had mistakenly eaten the aphrodisiac-coated bread that Maomao had made, believing it was a treat she had prepared for them. Under the influence of the aphrodisiac, they had become extremely aroused. Observing the 3 exhausted but satisfied servants, Jinshi remarked that they had at least confirmed the effectiveness of the aphrodisiac. After everyone had gathered, Maomao presented the chocolate-coated fruits to Jinshi. When asked why she had made the bread when she already had the fruits, Maomao explained that she had intended to eat it later. She assured them that the aphrodisiac would not affect her due to her resistance to poison and her tolerance for alcohol. Hearing this, Jinshi sarcastically picked up a piece of bread and attempted to eat it, claiming that he too was resistant due to his alcohol tolerance. Everyone in the room quickly intervened to prevent Jinshi from consuming the aphrodisiac, as they were already struggling to deal with the advances they had received and could not handle Jinshi becoming similarly affected. With the successful completion of the test, Jinshi now recognized Maomao's expertise not only in herb inspection and poison identification but also in their preparation. As everyone departed, Maomao began cleaning up. However, before she could finish, Jinshi suddenly appeared from behind and embraced her, expressing his gratitude for her excellent work. Maomao felt a warm sensation on the back of her neck, resembling a kiss. When she turned around, Jinshi had already left the room. Upon examining the tray, she discovered that one of the chocolate-covered breads was missing. Like and comment if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more anime recaps, and tell me what anime recap you'd like to see next in the comments below.